Hey everybody, I'm making another Oithl video. I know Oithl isn't the most popular series on my channel, and I haven't really added to it in almost a year, but if we don't take the time to understand material history of languages, we will not understand why we understand what we understand about languages. Was that confusing enough? Perfect. Today we're going to discuss the objects that tell the story of the 3 to 7 times that humans have created writing. The concept of meaningful squiggles. Wait, you might say, 3 to 7? That's quite a big range. Why is there so much wiggle room in how many times that's happened? Well, the issue is in the definition of a writing system itself. So, a writing system, you need to be able to say anything that you can think in it, right? Anything that you can say, anything that you can express. Because our writing system is phonetic, it makes it a lot easier for us to write. However, through human history, every writing system that we have good knowledge of begins as symbols that represent things. And there's a difference between having a system of symbols and you know that this is a cow, and this is a cat, and this is a dog, and this is a hand, and being able to write when you'll get lunch tomorrow. There's a big difference between that. And a lot of the discrepancy in understanding the origins of writing stem from not knowing whether or not a writing system can do that. So that was a lot of prelude. Let's get into the object. First, let's hit the 3 times that we know writing systems were invented. Mesopotamia, China, and Mesoamerica. Mesopotamia is the well-known cuneiform / Sumerian writing systems. They began early with tablets that were just pictograms, and then you can see them complexify into the cuneiform marks that are simplified pictograms that are standardized. These date back to 3100 to 2900 BC. The oldest of these that are deciphered are records of land transactions. So we can see that the way that writing developed in Sumeria was through utilitarian means. The necessity of being able to say, okay, you are taking this piece of land and giving it to this person. I'm writing it down to make it known so there's no arguments later about who owns this land. What's interesting is that today there are no surviving descendant writing systems of this initial created writing system. Well, maybe. Moving on to China. I've already covered this in my Oracle Bones Oithl episode, which is a really good one. Spark notes, the Chinese would take an animal bone, they would write a question in the animal bone, and then poke it with a hot poker and it would crack, and you would read the crack to see what the gods answered your question, or what the gods' answer was to your question. Kind of like a magic 8-ball. But it was demonstration of a complete writing system. This one still has surviving descendant writing systems today. Obviously the Chinese writing system, but also the Japanese letters. Or letters. Hiragana, katakana, and kanji from Japan are all based on this writing system. Oh, the Chinese writing system is the second oldest. It dates back to 1250 BC. And the last time that we know that a writing system developed was in Mesoamerica. The full writing system developed definitely by the Mayans and the Zapotecs. We have that deciphered, decoded. We know what they were saying in their writings. And there's that. So it definitely passes the bar as to like it's a writing system. And it was fully invented in Mesoamerica. The question comes into when did it start? It's unclear whether it started with the Proto-Olmecs. There are symbols that have been found on stones starting back at like 900 BC. But it's not perfectly clear whether or not these symbols are the beginnings of a writing system versus just like glyphs and symbols. There's some theorized things about some of these things. The problem with these Olmec glyphs is that they're sparse and they're undeciphered. So it's really difficult to tell the whole story of where these Mayan writing systems came from, but we're pretty sure that it's going to come from the Olmecs. Now, what about the other 4 times that it's argued that writing was invented? Some of them we've already talked about on the channel, and some of them were completely new to me in the research. I'm very excited about them because they're an interesting case study into what can we deduce from archaeology. In modern-day Serbia, you have what are called the Vancha symbols. I think that's pronounced Vancha. I'm going to look that up later and correct myself and edit if I'm wrong. However, I digress. The Vancha symbols might be the oldest example of a writing system. However, it's not very likely that it was a full writing system. There are multiple pieces of pottery that have been found from like 6,000 to 4,000 BC. And in these pieces of pottery, there's symbols written into them. A lot of it is 1 or 2 symbols. The most on any of them is 50 symbols. And we can only extrapolate what the meanings of these symbols could be. I personally think that the symbols are people's names. And it says that this is their pottery. But I'm just a guy on YouTube. And I'm a baker, so I don't really have any authority. But I'm going to say it's not a full writing system, most likely. Obviously, we can't know. But it's really cool, and it's the oldest example of people writing things. Another fun one that we have touched on before on the channel is Rongo, everyone's favorite Polynesian script. There is some general Polynesian knowledge of Rongo, but it is not deciphered, and the people who have had knowledge about Rongo didn't know what the writings were for sure. It's not clear if it was a full writing system. I think with the number of symbols it could have been, but we'll never know for sure. But it was definitely a time that the original idea of writing things down was invented. LOL, I didn't turn this light on. Now the lighting will look better. Now these last 2, I'm sure you've been yelling at your screens. I'm going to start with the Indus River Valley script. We don't know what it says. There's a lot of spicy debate as to what it is and whether or not it's a full writing system. There's some things that are speculating that it could be an early Dravidian language, and that's who was in the Indus River Valley. There's Indian nationalists who believe that it led to the Sanskrit script and that it's the oldest writing system in the world, which even if it was a full writing system, it would not be the oldest in the world. And just looking at it, it could go either way. I think it's pretty cool, regardless. And finally, Egyptian hieroglyphs. Egyptian hieroglyphs obviously became a full writing system. It's decoded, it's deciphered, everyone knows it. Thank you, Rosetta Stone. The issue is, was it original, or was it based on the idea from Mesopotamia? Did the concept of writing down symbols start in Egypt and Mesopotamia at around the same time? Or did it start in Mesopotamia and move over to Egypt? It's not really clear. If it's not original, then they picked up that idea very quickly. And if it is original, they just barely got beat by the Mesopotamians. That's what I mean when I say that it's possible that the Mesopotamian writing system became our writing system if it influenced the Egyptian hieroglyphs, because the Egyptian hieroglyphs led to our writing system. But if Egyptian hieroglyphs are original, then the Mesopotamian writing system is completely dead. I think the most interesting thing about looking at these writing systems that I saw was that there's kind of a clear pattern in how they're understood. It starts with these symbols that are fairly concrete as to what they represent, and then over time they complexify, they abstract, and they become a writing system in which you can express whatever ideas you have. A lot of the times that we see this need for expression blossoming is as a culture develops complexly. So the need to write down stories, the need to write down transactions, the need to write down laws necessitates creating writing systems that are not just symbolic, but are also abstract. And especially with today's writing systems, which, if you're in the Western world, they're all phonetic, we take that for granted. That we can invent words, even, such as quibipe. No one has found a quibipe. Prove me wrong, guys. I want someone to find quibipe. Thank you. And thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great day.